What's going on, guys? Eternal One here, and welcome back to another episode of Brutally Honest. It's been a really long time since we last did one of these. I primarily just went over all of the legendaries for the game, right, for Brutally Honest, but my boy DB, one of the OG subs and viewers, reached out to me and suggested that I do a Brutally Honest on epic ghost weapons. And instead of making a video for each one, I figured I would just go ahead and make a video for all Ghost Weapons 1 and 2. We'll cover each one, and I'll give you my thoughts as well as a rating, and just how good or bad I think they are depending on which one we cover. But with that being said, again, shout out to my boy DB. Appreciate the suggestion. If you guys have any kind of suggestions that you would like for me to make a video on, it doesn't just have to be build related. Let's go ahead and get right into it. So, since I'm equipped with a sticky bomb and some caltrops, we'll go ahead and start here. Sticky bomb attaches to an enemy and explodes, staggering anyone caught in the blast. So, I really like Sticky Bomb. I think it's one of the best Ghost Weapon ones. It does a fair amount of damage, and if you couple it with Fired Up, and you have, any kind of status effect damage and duration, that Fired Up's going to do probably more damage depending on your build than the actual blast itself, unless you're like a full damage Ronin, in which case you'd just be running Spirit Kunai anyway. But I also like the fact that it comes with blast radius so that you can actually increase the blast radius on your bomb pack, whether it be like an epic one or the forbidden medicine like I have equipped here. If you wanted to get, like, this is a fire runner, right? So I don't have blast radius here because I'm trying to go, full status effect. The good thing about getting blast radius here is it does actually help. Now, if you got blast radius here and here, yeah, you'd be hitting a lot of people with that shit. 50% is nothing to sniff at, but I like the fact that it comes with ghost weapon damage, cooldown on kill, and blast radius, as well as status effect duration. Typically, I don't run cooldown reduction on anything outside of the smoke bomb. I usually run cooldown on kill. But I like its perks. I like its properties. I like the fact that it comes with increased radius and fired up. You can drop this too if you wanted for lucky, to where you could try to get it back to back. It's a pretty good tool to build resolve, like especially if you have increased radius and blast radius on there. The more people it hits, obviously, the more resolve you get. But this is definitely a really good ghost weapon. I probably use this ghost weapon more than any other that isn't a legendary. So, I mean, I pretty much run Spirit Kunai if I have a legendary Ghost Weapon 1 on. But whenever I'm not doing that, depending on the build, more than likely I am going to run a Sticky Bomb. For this being an epic, I think I'm probably going to give this thing a 9. Actually, let me take that back. I'm going to give it an 8. I know it's only a 1-point difference, but the reason why I'm only going to give it an 8 is because this game has no idea where you want to throw stuff sometimes. You can have an enemy, and just one enemy, no other enemies in the area, be looking directly at them. And this goes for any Ghost Weapon 1. It's not just the Sticky Bomb that gets affected by this. And you can go to throw it at that enemy, and you'll literally lob it like a Hail Mary, and it'll just go flying off to the left or the right, fucking hit a wall or a tree, and hit absolutely nothing, hit absolutely no one. In fact, you could be looking at not just one person in front of you, but an entire group of enemies, and you'll go to throw this thing, and it's like you got carpal tunnel or something. Like, you just whiff so dramatically with this not with just, again, the Sticky Bomb, but just Ghost Weapons in general. But it's really, really bad when you do it with a Sticky Bomb, because generally you want to throw it in like the middle of a group of enemies, and you could be looking directly at that center target, and you'll throw it on like the far left guy or the far right guy, and then you only hit half the group, when you could have hit everybody, screwing up your resolve gains and just your overall DPS in general. So yeah, I'm going to give this thing an 8 just because it's a single projectile, even though it has a nice or can have a nice blast radius to it. The throw mechanic in this game, obviously, if they make Tsushima 2, or Legends 2, to be more specific, I really hope that they actually end up, tweaking that, because even when you have the next weapon that we're going to cover, and you have hidden blades to throw 5 kunai, oh boy, you can still miss an entire group of enemies on that as well. It just gets ridiculous. But yeah, we'll give the sticky bomb an 8. So moving on to our next Ghost Weapon 1 is going to be the Epic Kunai. Now, about the only type of characters that I will put an Epic Kunai on are ones where I'm trying to maximize melee damage and can't afford to equip the legendary version of this, being the Spirit Kunai. 9 times out of 10, I'm going for melee damage if I equip this. I think it's really nice that there's at least one Ghost Weapon, one, or just Ghost Weapon, honestly, in general, that actually has a melee damage property, and it can really boost the damage of your builds, depending on what you're going for, like full raw damage melee samurai builds, or any kind of stone striker build, or maxed out ultimate damage. Melee works for that if you're running on the samurai or the assassin. I think that's really, really good to use melee damage on here for that. And then, with the fact that it comes with Ghost Weapon damage is okay. I mean, these things don't hit great, but when you couple it with Supermassive and then Hidden Blades, it gets kind of nasty. So just right off the bat, you just throw 2 kunai without our perks in mind here. So originally, you could either only get Supermassive or Hidden Blades for this, and without Supermassive, Hidden Blades did about as much damage as Supermassive. So it just made more sense to run Supermassive because, it can cause lighter enemies to get thrown backwards, so you could knock people off cliffs, all kinds of stuff like that, right? But with the introduction of being able to have 2 perks, which I think is so badass, I love the fact that they did that. It really opened up a lot of dope-ass builds for the game. But being able to couple Supermassive with Hidden Blades can get ridiculous in terms of like gut-shotting a single enemy. With all 5 Supermassive blades, or Supermassive Hidden Blades on this kunai, man, you can do a lot of damage if you're built around Ghost Weapon damage. It's honestly surprising how much damage you can do. And I mean, I've even run this on, again, like one of my samurai builds, and was still one-shotting like the regular Spear Oni Tengu, the Oni Brutes, not the Elder Oni Lords or whatever, but like even on a samurai, like with 40% Ghost Weapon damage, like it's ridiculous. I gotta be honest, guys, I really don't like the regular kunai. Again, this is just me, my opinion, but with the fact that this comes with melee damage is, again, the only reason why I would generally run it anyway, and in which case I'm hardly throwing it. I'm just throwing it out there every 30 seconds. Or less if I have cooldown on kill, just based on it being there and just being like, oh, okay, here's another form of damage, let me just throw it out, but I don't rely on it. I usually end up equipping this, like I said, mainly for the melee damage boost for my build. But with this running, Ghost Weapon damage, melee, cooldown reduction on kill, status effect duration, like there's some things that you can do with this, but as for the perks, I would completely ignore Fired Up and Lucky. You want Supermassive and Hidden Blades. You want 5 kunai, and you want them to hit like a truck, like if you're running kunai. I never run Fired Up or Lucky on my kunai, not ever. But as a regular general epic kunai, I'm going to give this thing a 6 at best. Now, as for the dirt throw, I gotta be honest, I think the legendary version of this is a complete waste. If you've watched that Brutally Honest, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But throwing dirt at nearby enemies, causing them to cough. Alright. This can be nice, depending on your build. I think I posted a build here recently where I ended up running Fired Up and Rancid on there to weaken them, and then, you know, cause them to burn. Weaken's just going to make you do more damage overall, including the fire. So I think this thing's saving grace is the fact that it can come with Rancid and Fired Up. Back when this could only have one perk, you know, obviously it wasn't nearly as good, but that can be said for anything, right? And then for a time, Fired Up and Rancid actually didn't work together. You couldn't actually get both effects at one time. It was really weird. Either you would just weaken them or just cause them to get set on fire. I can't remember which one it was, but its properties are pretty much just going to be around cooldown reduction, status effect damage. Don't even waste your time with Ghost Weapon damage. I don't even know why they offer this. This is a complete and utter waste of a property. The Dirt Throw does no damage, so, you know, if you have maxed out, like I've used it just for shits and giggles to see what the damage would be like on a max Ghost Weapon damage Ronin, and it's nothing. It's a completely wasted stat. But the fact that this can come with perfect parry window can be nice depending on your build. That can really help out your Wrath of Satagami build, perhaps, depending on what you're going for. I can see its usefulness depending on the build with having perfect parry window. I think it's not a bad pickup, especially if you're going to get it here. Instead of like maybe somewhere else on your sword or whatever, but you could just get perfect parry there and then wind up throwing the kunai on. And still come out the same way and have a better ghost weapon, in my opinion. But again, I think it just depends on what you want to do. Having Rancid, which weakens enemies, causing them to take 25% more damage and deal 25% less damage, is freaking awesome. Especially when you couple that with Fired Up, and then if you have Fire Master on or some kind of status effect build, this could be pretty nice. This can allow you to get revives very much just like any of the other ghost weapons. You know, if you need a revive quick and there's a bunch of enemies around, just run in and throw a ghost weapon one, and generally you'll be able to get the revive off unless it's slowed revives. But overall, I'm gonna give this thing only because I have been using it more frequently with certain wacky ass builds that I've been coming out with. I'm going to give this thing a 3, and I feel like I'm still being generous. You can definitely find a use for this. I think I still might have it on... Yep, I still got it on my Demonic Assassin build. Where I ended up running, you know, like, tons of status effect damage, so that weekend and the Fired Up from it actually proved to be quite nice. But overall, a 3 at best. And even that, I feel like I'm being generous. Alright guys, on to Ghost Weapon 2. Now, we'll go ahead and start with Caltrops here, especially with it being on my Ronin. Guys, I love Caltrops. And the fact that they've given them munitions on one of the last patches that we got is badass. Unfortunately, they didn't say it, at least I don't remember it being said, that it's actually one less drop in comparison to a smoke bomb with munitions. So when you drop a smoke bomb and you have munitions on it, you can get 3 items. With Caltrops, unfortunately, you only get 2. But it's a more offensive way to go about running munitions as opposed to a defensive with the smoke bomb. So, you know, you kind of have to figure out which one works best for you and your build in terms of the trade-off there for munitions. But I think that's a great thing that they added. Having Fired Up, I think, is practically a staple, and then deep bags. Back when you can only have one perk, I think everybody pretty much ran Fired Up unless it was immunity weak. But now that we can do deep bags and Fired Up, I think is really sick. It's a great combination. Caltrops do way more damage than people think they do, especially with demon seeds or any way to weaken them. They're going to take tons and tons of damage from Caltrops. It also staggers enemies, which is really nice. You don't have to have any kind of like Oni damage if it's an Oni stepping on it, you know, which does affect their stagger gauges for any damage dealt to them. But yeah, it attacks stagger gauges, so even running, you know, some kind of stagger damage build would be good. They could run into the Caltrops, tank their stagger gauge, and then get set on fire. Maybe you got Fire Master, maybe they're weakened somehow. And you got stagger damage, and you have like this 60 to 80% damage for the fire after they go running through them. They're really great for like really small areas and corridors where enemies have to run through a tunnel. Just drop Caltrops right at the beginning, especially Demon Seeds, even though we're not talking about those, and just melt everything. It still works even with Epic Caltrops. Again, I run this on a lot of my builds. I think they have great properties as well as their perks with Ghost Weapon damage, status effect duration, cooldown on kill, and melee stagger damage. There's a couple of builds where I actually utilize, maybe actually just one, I can't remember, I think maybe two. Anyway, the Stone Striker builds that I run generally have melee stagger damage on there just so I can wind kick people easier to tank their stagger gauge. So this helps with that, and it's being a more offensive Ghost Weapon too, which it's the only one. So it's nice that they have some kind of option on here to increase melee stagger damage for those running a Stone Striker build. Ghost Weapon damage is a great pickup here. Status effect damage. This right here is phenomenal. Like, it just works so well together. And then Deep Bags is another great pickup. Lucky, it's great that it's there if you want to run it, but I'm either running fired up munitions, deep bags and munitions, or deep bags and fired up. I pretty much don't even touch Lucky on these. And then generally I'll either have Ghost Weapon damage and status effect duration for this, and or cooldown reduction on kill if I'm not running a Spirit Kunai, just so I can use them more frequently, or maybe even melee stagger damage if I'm running the Stone Striker. So believe it or not, I think with the addition of munitions, guys, I'm going to give this a 10. I think this is probably going to be my first 10. It won't be my last, but this is going to be the first one. I love Caltrops. Again, personal preference. I put this on just about every build I can. If I can find a way to weasel it into the build outside of the Ghost Weapon that you could see right below it, then I generally want to or will. I just really enjoy them. I feel like they've been used more recently. I think people are starting to incorporate them more in their build than the Smoke Bomb, especially for like rather interesting ways about going for Plat 7 runs or Nightmare Survival solos. People are starting to incorporate these, which I think is great. But yeah, for me, personal preference, but I'm definitely giving this thing a 10. However, on to what I think is probably just the best item in the game. The Smoke Bomb is just, it's just that good. This has got to be easily the best, the best legendary in the game, even though it's not a legendary. It's just that good. Generally, all I ever do for smoke bombs on any character that I run it is going to be cooldown reduction and cooldown reduction on kill. I'll throw stealth attack damage on there, depending on what kind of build I'm running on the assassin. But generally, I run these two. It's nice that you can get stealth on here for doing like trials and stuff, to where you don't want to be seen or you want to try to speed run stuff, and it really does help with that. But outside of that, I don't really have a use for it, but I don't really go for leaderboards. Stealth attack damage is great, cooldown reduction and cooldown reduction on kill. I think it's really simplistic, but it does exactly what it needs to do, and it does it phenomenally well. Very, very easy to pick up properties here, and then as far as the perks are concerned, unless it's an assassin build, or even if I'm playing an assassin, I'm just not running a stealth attack build for any reason, this is it. This is it right here. Lucky, munitions, cooldown reduction on kill, and cooldown reduction. I don't think you need anything else. Again, unless you're doing something with stealth attack damage, or stealth for the trials. Trying to pick up sudden resolve here, for me, I would rather have munitions and lucky. I don't like the fact that sudden resolve, you have to pretty much be at no resolve in order to get it. And then, you basically either take away lucky or munitions for that. And I just don't feel like that's warranted enough to replace one of these for sudden resolve. Again, personal preference, but I love munitions. You obviously get 3 pickups here. as opposed to the 2 from the Caltrops, and then just having another chance to be able to just throw down smoke bombs left and right with Lucky just coating the field with munitions. You have tons of cooldown here, even though it says 120 seconds, especially if you couple this with a Spirit Kunai. Man, you're going to be throwing out whatever your ranged weapon is like crazy, stealth attacking like crazy, reload canceling inside your smoke like crazy. Like, it's just the best item in the game. It's just the best item in the game. It's great for going and getting revives for your teammates. Even the Watcha can't see you in it, which I think is nice. Gives you a break from the Watcha whenever you're trying to go about reviving. But yeah, I honestly can't say enough good things, enough positive things about the smoke bomb. It's just phenomenal. If I generally I rate stuff 1 to 10 on Brutally Honest, but if I could give this thing an 11, I would. It's that good. Now, for the final Ghost Weapon 2, we have the Healing Gourd. So, I gotta be honest, I pretty much only use this on one character for one specific build, which is my Juggernaut Samurai, just to give me another way to keep my health topped off. Yeah, I just don't run it on anything outside of the Juggernaut Samurai. And even then, the only reason I am running it on the Juggernaut Samurai is because it does come with damage reduction. I don't even care about the injured resolve gain. I know a lot of people like to run damage reduction and injured resolve gain, both on a Gourd and then like a defensive charm or some kind of Ronin charm. I don't like going that route. I think it works for the Juggernaut Samurai if you want to run that. I think the other thing you could run on here is cooldown on kill instead of injured resolve gain, but again, personal preference. It just depends on what you want to do. As far as the perks are concerned, again, Sudden Resolve I just don't think is a good perk. I think if you could get that one resolve, no matter how much resolve you had, could be nice. But the fact that you pretty much have to be empty or not at least have a full one resolve, I think it's a waste of time, personally, again. But I like Strong Brew. A 50% healing increase is lovely. This thing barely heals for shit anyway. But you can get like 40 health maybe with the healing increase here. It's just not a good. I'd rather run Smoke Bomb. Like, why would you run this when you can run Smoke Bomb? The healing is not enough compared to what Caltrops or Smoke Bombs can do for you. Obviously, again, it depends on your build, but for me, nah. This thing gets a fucking 1. I think it's terrible. If I didn't run it on the Juggernaut Samurai, I'd probably even give it a 0. I just think for me personally, it's just an absolute waste of time. Again, it comes with cooldown reduction on kill, damage reduction, and injured resolve gain. Don't even bother getting Ghost offering health. This shit only works from ammo pickups that are on the map. Well, now that they've completely gutted them from Nightmare, pretty much making us have to run munitions on every frickin' build possible. Thanks, Sucker Punch. It just doesn't give you enough health. Even 25 health. Why? Why would you do this? Why would you get that over damage reduction, even injured resolve gain, or cooldown on kill? I just don't see the point. Again, I would run it with damage reduction, if you were going to run this. Cooldown reduction on kill, or injured resolve gain, Lucky and Strong Brew, and that's pretty much all I've got to say about this terrible-ass, epic Ghost Weapon 2. Guys, that's going to be it for this episode of Brutally Honest. It's been fun. It's been a while since I've done one of these. I've still got tons that need to come out for Horizon Forbidden West and some other games here in the future. But if you want me to cover anything on Brutally Honest, for any game, really, but for Legends, just let me know. Leave a comment down below or just hit me up on Twitter. There's a link to it in the profile. But guys, I appreciate you coming out. DB, I hope this was as good as you wanted it to be. I figured I'd just do everything in one nice chunky video. I'll have timestamps down below when the video actually does get published or comes out. But yeah, DB, this is for you. Appreciate the suggestion. Guys, I appreciate you coming out. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to smash that like button and subscribe to stay up to date on all of my content. Ring the bell for notifications, and I'll catch you on the next one. Doses!